After 5 years of marriage, my wife suddenly changed. It all started when I overheard her asking our daughter, if Uncle Nathan became your dad, would you be okay with that? And our daughter replied, yes. From that moment, I felt like I had turned into a completely different person. I stopped picking up our daughter after school on time, stopped replying to my wife's messages and calls. Seeing me grow more and more distant, she finally began to panic. I was just joking with our daughter, she said. Do you really have to act like this? If you don't trust me, I can have Nathan Brooks fired. I replied blandly, there's no need. Even if she leaves, it won't change anything. Because your personal assistant, Nathan Brooks, has already sent me hundreds of intimate photos of the two of you. I had gathered all the evidence and the divorce papers were already filed. I no longer wanted either her or our daughter. Sitting across from me was prosecutor and attorney Andrew Collins, his expression serious. Ethan Carter, you confirm that the divorce request includes claiming half of the assets under Ms. Lauren Mitchell's name and giving up custody rights of the child, is that correct? My hand clenched tightly under the table. I could only utter two words, confirmed. We will prepare the evidence. The court hearing will be held in 2 weeks. I nodded, stood up, and walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Just as I stepped onto the sidewalk, my phone chimed. I glanced down, unlocked the screen, and saw a photo message from Nathan Brooks. Ethan Carter, last week Lauren took me to Iceland. She even booked a couple's suite. Looking at the sweet, intimate photos featuring Lauren Mitchell, I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. As usual, I didn't reply to Nathan Brooks's message. Instead, I selected all the photos and forwarded them to lawyer Collins as new evidence. Then I quietly pocketed my phone and got into the car. Half a month ago, Nathan Brooks, Lauren Mitchell's personal assistant, suddenly added me on Telegram. Thinking it was work-related, I accepted. I didn't expect to be blindsided the moment I opened the chat. His messages were all intimate photos of him and Lauren Mitchell. In every photo, her gaze toward him was tender, overly familiar. I closed my eyes, not wanting to think about the Mitchell family's villa anymore. As soon as I opened the door, Lauren Mitchell walked up to me, her face tense. Are you not feeling well today? Lily Carter's teacher called me, said you didn't pick her up after school. Her concerned, gentle eyes only made my throat tighten. I shook my head. I'm fine. Just forgot. She was stunned. Back then, when our daughter was kidnapped, I was severely injured in the lower abdomen trying to save her. I lost a lot of blood, and the doctor said I'd never be able to have another child. That's why I poured everything I had into raising our only daughter. And yet today, I forgot to pick her up. Just then, a childish voice floated down from the second floor. Mom, don't let Dad pick me up anymore. Let Uncle Nathan do it. He's much nicer than Dad. All my friends say Uncle Nathan is super handsome. Lauren Mitchell's face instantly darkened. Her voice turned cold. Lily Carter, who allowed you to say something like that to Grandma? Her sharp tone made Lily Carter go pale. Watching this scene, I could only feel bitter amusement. When I gave my all to Lily Carter, she acted like a little devil, rebellious and hard to handle. But with just one scolding from Lauren Mitchell, she'd become obedient immediately. I stopped Lauren before she could scold further and said softly, let it go. She looked at me, her voice hurried. There was a company meeting today. I was too busy, so I asked Assistant Brooks to pick her up. I nodded. Whoever can do it, let them do more. Let Assistant Brooks keep picking her up from now on. Arrange it however you like. Just think of it as helping Lily Carter get used to her future stepfather. Just as I was about to walk away, Lauren Mitchell grabbed my hand. Her voice was gentle. Ethan Carter, are you angry? Out of habit, I pressed my lips into a tight line. 10 years of marriage. Both of us knew each other inside out. Unfortunately, it was through the bragging of the other woman that I finally realized Lauren Mitchell had never truly loved me. And she could see right through my pretense, too. Before I could say anything, she suddenly hugged me tightly. I'm sorry, I didn't think it through back then. Darling, from now on, I won't let him interfere with our family anymore, okay? Her voice was as gentle as a clear mountain stream. But to me, it felt like thorns in my chest. To the outside world, Lauren Mitchell was the perfect wife. If it hadn't been for those photos Nathan Brooks sent me 2 weeks ago, maybe I would have still believed we had real love. I suppressed the storm of emotions rising inside me, closed my eyes, and replied, "Fine. In any case, we'll each go our separate ways in 2 weeks." The next morning, as I stepped out of the bedroom, I was surprised to see Lauren Mitchell still sitting in the living room. I couldn't help glancing at the clock. Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Since taking over the Trio family business, she had never been late or left work early. What was going on today? Just then, she heard my footsteps, looked up and smiled, waving at me. "Today there's an auction. The heart of the ocean gem you like will be featured. Let me take you there." I looked at her, and a sudden tightness gripped my chest. She remembered every offhand comment I'd ever made, every little thing I liked. But none of that stopped her from cheating. As we stepped out of the house, I suddenly remembered something and asked, "Where's Lily Carter?" Lauren Mitchell's expression turned slightly cold. "I already said, from now on, let the nanny take her to school. If she doesn't know how to appreciate your love, then there's no need for you to care about her anymore." After saying that, she helped me put on my coat. "Darling, I told you before, I married you so you could live in comfort." If this had been in the past, I would have smiled at her after hearing something like that. But now I couldn't bring myself to smile. Lauren Mitchell, am I the one enjoying a blessed life, or are you the one enjoying a harem-like happiness? I stepped forward. "Let's go." Half an hour later, the discreet Maybach stopped in front of the auction venue. As soon as I stepped out of the car, a male voice called out, "Mrs. Lauren, your seats are ready. Let me escort you in." I turned to see Nathan Brooks in a thin suit, his face pale from the cold. Then I heard Lauren Mitchell's displeased voice. "It's freezing. Why didn't you wait inside?" Nathan Brooks smiled and shook his head. "I didn't want to miss you." In that brief moment, I sensed Lauren Mitchell's breath hitch. She was feeling sorry for him. I looked down, and in that second, I swore I could hear the sound of my heart shattering. Love often begins with heartbreak. Lauren Mitchell was no exception. I turned to her and said quietly, "Talk with Assistant Brooks. I'll go inside first." But she held on to my hand. "Assistant Brooks, this has nothing to do with you anymore. Go back to the company." Then without another word, she dragged me into the venue. After we found our seats, I was still taking in the setting of the auction when I heard a faint chuckle beside me. I turned to see her profile, a faint smile playing on her lips as she stared at her brightly lit phone screen. On the screen, a text was clearly displayed. "Mrs. Lauren lied to me. Just the other night, you were in my arms saying I was the most important person, and now you've abandoned me." Watching her completely absorbed in that message, my chest tightened in disbelief. How could she do this? Right in front of me, so blatant, so shameless, replying to her lover's messages as if I weren't even here. I slowly turned away. At the corner of my eye, a tear glistened, one that hadn't yet fallen. Once the auction began, Lauren Mitchell fully displayed her decisiveness and sharp instincts in the business world. She continuously raised her paddle and, in the end, successfully won both the heart of the ocean gem and an emerald pendant of equal value. After the auction ended and she had secured both items, she began typing something on her phone again. This time, I didn't even bother to look. I could already guess who she was messaging. As we left the auction, Lauren Mitchell turned to me, her voice soft. "Darling, I'll head back to the company first, okay?" I nodded. Watching her hurriedly walk away, the faint smile on my lips completely vanished. I took out my phone and tapped on Nathan Brooks's avatar. There it was, his latest post from just 5 minutes ago. "Having a lover who spoils you and is rich. What a dream come true." Attached was a picture of the emerald pendant Lauren Mitchell had just bought. I took a screenshot, opened my chat with lawyer Andrew Collins, and sent it over as new evidence. The chat window was now completely green, a pile of evidence, each message like a knife severing every memory I had with Lauren Mitchell. My eyes began to sting. So this is love, a fairy tale built on lies. For 2 days after the auction, Lauren Mitchell didn't come home. I told myself bitterly, she must be with Nathan Brooks. I didn't call her either. I couldn't care less anymore. But then, on Saturday, she suddenly called me. "Darling, Lily Carter doesn't have school today. Could you send the driver to bring her over here? I don't want her bothering you at home. Hearing her voice made something bitter rise in my throat. Just a minute before that call, Nathan Brooks had messaged me. Ethan Carter, as long as I want, Lauren will give me everything, including your one and only daughter. I closed my eyes. My voice turned cold. All right, I'll ask the nanny to bring her. On the other end, Lauren Mitchell didn't seem to notice anything unusual. On the contrary, she even started complaining. Darling, lately you haven't cared about me at all. I haven't been home, and you didn't call even once. I swallowed the burning anger rising in my chest and replied, I knew you were busy. Back then, whenever she worked late or couldn't come home, I would cook something for her, take it to the office, and stay up with her through the night. But after learning about her affair, I no longer had the will to give anything. After a pause, I tried testing the waters. Why don't I come to the company and visit you for a bit? There was silence on the other end for 2 seconds before Lauren Mitchell's gentle voice came through. No need. Things at the company are almost done. I'll bring Lily Carter home tonight. After she hung up, the corners of my mouth lifted into a bitter smile. So this is it. The human heart really can't stand the test of time. Watching Lily Carter leave the house cheerfully, Nanny Grace looked worried. Sir, the little lady is still so young. She needs her father around. I gazed out the window at the child I once fought so hard to protect. A flicker of hesitation crossed my eyes. After a long pause, I finally replied softly, It's all right. Someone else will stay by her side. Nathan Brooks had to keep his good image in Lauren Mitchell's eyes, so I'd play the role of the kind stepfather for Lily Carter too. Retracting my gaze, I stepped into the room and sat down on the soft sofa. Looking up, I was met with our wedding photo hanging on the wall. Her radiant smile, but it stirred no warmth in me anymore. Even now, I still don't understand how we ended up like this. Back when Nathan Brooks first joined Mitchell Corp as an assistant, Lauren had said she'd ask HR to hire a female assistant if I wasn't comfortable. Her consideration back then didn't feel fake. How could I have doubted her? So even when she came home smelling faintly of men's cologne or changed her hairstyle to a shorter cut, I didn't think too much of it. But the moment I added Nathan Brooks to my contacts, the very first thing he sent me was a photo of him and Lauren Mitchell in bed. His arms covered in fresh scratch marks, wrapped around her pale skin. That image shattered my entire world. I raised my hand to cover my eyes, trying to block out the ugly memories. It wasn't until 8 p.m. that Lauren Mitchell finally brought Lily Carter home. Their beaming faces made something inside me tremble. She handed me a bag. I stopped by the watch boutique earlier and picked this for you. Take a look. Do you like it? Even after 10 years of marriage, Lauren Mitchell still remembered to surprise me from time to time. I opened the box. A luxury men's watch. It looked expensive. I forced a smile. It's nice. Her eyes sparkled even more. As long as you like it. She sat down on the sofa, casually picking up her phone. Not long after, she stood up. Darling, I'm going to take a quick shower. The moment she left, Lily Carter, who'd been restless, ran straight to her room. The living room suddenly fell silent. I picked up Lauren Mitchell's phone from the coffee table. Her password had always been my birthday, but I had never once checked her phone. Maybe it was because she was so certain that she didn't even bother exiting the chat with Nathan Brooks. I swiped to unlock the screen. Their conversation was displayed in full. Nathan Brooks. Mrs. Lauren, did your honey like the gift I picked out? Lauren Mitchell. He liked it a lot, but it looks even better on him. I had already made up my mind to divorce, but just those 2 lines alone were enough to leave me breathless. I thought I wouldn't feel pain anymore, yet everything Lauren Mitchell did made me feel like a fool. There was a moment, a raw, burning moment, when I wanted to storm in and ask her why. Why let her lover choose a gift for me, a gift he had even worn before? But in the end, I simply placed the phone quietly back on the table. 10 years of love. It felt like it was being eroded little by little until nothing was left. It wasn't until that familiar scent approached that I snapped back to reality. Lauren Mitchell's face was close to mine, her voice full of concern. Darling, your face looks so pale. Let me call the doctor. I looked at her, watching as she picked up her phone, ready to dial. I spoke up just in time. It's all right. My old condition is acting up again. Just some stomach pain. She paused, then sat down beside me, placing her hand gently on my stomach, her voice soft. I'm sorry. If I'd known protecting Lily Carter that day would make you this weak, I never would have let you take that risk. Feeling the warmth from her palm, I closed my eyes. It's fine. I chose to do it. Once for this woman, I had been willing to gamble with my life, to protect the child who was the very embodiment of our love. But I had forgotten one thing. Hearts can change, and Lauren Mitchell was no longer the woman who once loved me with all she had. If she truly cared, how could she forget that my health had actually improved a lot since then? She seemed about to say something more, but just then, her phone rang. She picked up, listened for a few seconds, and her expression changed. There's a problem with the project on the other end. I need to go over right away. No need to wait up. Go to bed early, okay? She didn't even wait for me to respond before walking straight out the door. Watching her back disappear, I only felt the cold wind from the window seep into the depths of my heart. The name Nathan flashed across my mind, sharp and clear. Did Lauren Mitchell really think I couldn't tell? That kind of intimate concern. It had been a long, long time since I'd last felt it from her. I stood up and told Nanny Grace, please check on Lily Carter in the kids' room. If anything happens, let me know. Then I grabbed my coat and left the house. Once in the car, I dialed a number. Jason Moore, let's go for a drink. Jason Moore was the only friend from college who had stayed in New York. Ever since I married Lauren Mitchell, my relationship with Jason Moore gradually faded. On the other end of the call, I heard a dry chuckle. A scammer trying to bait me now? If it's really you calling me out for drinks, I'll down this beer bottle right here. His teasing made me laugh. I opened a video call to show him my face. An hour later, at a barbecue joint tucked in an alley opposite the Old South Gate of Oxford University, I looked at Jason Moore's dumbfounded expression and smiled. Future lawyer, which bottle are you planning to eat first? He didn't say a word, just grabbed the beer in front of him and took a long swig. I was about to stop him when his words froze me in place. Ethan Carter, I thought I'd never see you again. Jason Moore looked at me, eyes rimmed red. Since you got married, you practically cut me out of your life. It felt like our friendship meant nothing compared to your love for her. He stared straight into my eyes. So getting to see you today, I'm really happy. Truths often hurt the most, but they're also the ones that strike deepest. I lowered my head, hiding the tears shimmering in my eyes. Because of a love that changed so easily, I had ended up hurting the person who had been the most precious to me. After a long moment, I looked up and smiled. Then let me tell you something that'll make you even happier. I'm filing for divorce. Jason Moore widened his eyes but didn't ask a single question. He just raised his beer bottle. Ethan Carter, congrats. The clink of glass echoed crisp and clear, followed by a laugh. I hadn't laughed like that in a long time. To tomorrow. That night was the first time I ever slept away from home, and only then did I realize how light it felt to live alone. No need to wake up early to hear the birds. No worries about whether the kid kicked off the blanket. No need to cook porridge at 6 in the morning because I was afraid Lauren Mitchell wouldn't eat breakfast. Lying in a large hotel bed, drunk and dazed, I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I woke up to find a note on the nightstand. Ethan Carter, I had to go back to school for something. Call me if you need anything. I folded the note and slipped it into my coat pocket. Then I reached for my phone, only 1% battery left. 3 messages from Nathan Brooks. 1 missed call. Nothing else. I stared at the screen, feeling nothing but bitter amusement. I hadn't come home all night, and the only person who reached out to me was my romantic rival. Looking at the family photo that had once been my lock screen, I suddenly felt suffocated. I opened my photo album, picked a landscape I'd taken myself, and replaced it. Then I left the hotel. The first thing I did when I got home was charge my phone. Then I showered, tossed my alcohol-scented clothes into the washing machine. Only after finishing everything did I finally check Nathan Brooks' messages. Ethan Carter, Lauren is pregnant. Last night she went to the hospital with me. You must be lonely all by yourself, huh? I should thank you. If it weren't for you being infertile, it wouldn't have been my turn, right? Maybe the alcohol from last night hadn't fully worn off yet. I stared at the messages, speechless. Just then, my phone vibrated again. It was a call from Lauren Mitchell. I picked up. Her voice came through, tired. Honey, when I was pregnant with Lily Carter, you booked the OB/GYN appointment, right? Which doctor was it? One of my clients is pregnant, and I want to refer them. Client. My eyes lowered, and the roar of the washing machine overwhelmed the pounding of my heart. So the emerald necklace was for a client. The prenatal visit was also for a client. Lauren Mitchell had never cared about how I felt. That's why she could lie to me again and again with such ease. My chest felt heavy. Even my voice turned cold. I forgot. I have something to do. I'm hanging up. After the call ended, I sat frozen in the bathroom, face blank and empty. A long moment passed before I called lawyer Andrew Collins. Lawyer Collins, what if my wife has a child with someone else? Andrew Collins paused briefly before replying. Ethan Carter, according to Article D of the Civil Code, a child born out of wedlock still has inheritance rights. However, having a child outside marriage can be considered evidence of adultery. In the asset division, you'll have the upper hand. I ignored the bitterness rising in my throat and answered quietly, I understand. 7 p.m. Lauren Mitchell returned home on time. I watched her, noticing her cold gaze, as if she was suppressing anger. Why did you hang up on me? He's just a doctor. Was it so hard to talk? In 10 years of marriage, this was the first time Lauren Mitchell had treated me with such indifference. Was it because of her child with Nathan Brooks? The thought sent a sharp pain through my chest. She sighed. Fine, I'll explain and apologize like before. But when she saw my reddened eyes, she faltered. Confused by her own unease, she said nothing more and stormed into the study, slamming the door. Alone in the living room, I stared at the closed door as tears fell. The wind rustled the trees outside, their shadows swaying against the window. The house was silent. I refused to let her see me broken, so I stumbled into the bedroom. Lying on the soft bed, I felt only coldness. Just as I steadied myself, Lauren Mitchell pushed the door open. She sat beside me, her voice reluctantly gentle. Are you really ignoring me? Starting a cold war? Have you no conscience? For a moment it felt like the past when she loved me wholeheartedly. My throat tightened. Gripping the blanket, I forced calm. It's late. Sleep. Hearing my hoarse voice, her expression tensed. She pulled me into a hug. You're crying? It's my fault. I shouldn't have yelled. Don't be angry. I won't do it again. Those words shattered my restraint. How could someone so tender betray our marriage? How could she hurt me this deeply? I let myself drown in sorrow, crying for the last time over her. That night, I wept until my voice cracked, releasing years of pent-up grief. I wanted to scream, why did your love vanish so fast? Why couldn't you even give me a proper goodbye? Lauren Mitchell, disturbed by my sobs, kept patting my back. Ethan Carter, my love, it's my fault. Please don't cry. It breaks my heart. Eventually, exhaustion took me. When she thought I'd fallen asleep, she sighed and held me tighter. Then her phone buzzed, a message from Nathan Brooks. She smirked, replying with a voice note, sleep early. You've been weak lately. Don't stay up. Setting the phone down, she kissed my forehead. Good night, honey. But in the dark, she didn't see my silent tears. The next morning, I woke to swollen eyes. Lauren Mitchell's cheerful voice rang out. Don't move, love. Your eyes are swollen. Let me ice them. What time is it? Why aren't you at work? I mumbled. She laughed. How could I leave you like this? I told my assistant, I'm off all week. My heart sank. Lawyer Andrew Collins had confirmed our divorce hearing was set for Sunday. Half an hour later, she removed the ice pack. Dressed in workout clothes, she beamed. Didn't you always beg me to go to the park? Let's go today. I looked down. That request was from our second year of marriage, back when she was too busy. Now, as I sought divorce, she finally had time. A moment later, I lifted my head and smiled faintly. Consider this our last happy moment before the breakup. After changing clothes and heading downstairs, I overheard Lauren Mitchell on a call in the study. The test results show her pregnancy hormones are too low. How could this happen? I'll be right there. When she stepped out and saw me sitting pale-faced on the sofa, she flinched but forced a smile. Honey, I need to step out for a bit. Wait for me, okay? At that moment, Nathan Brooks's words echoed in my mind. Ethan Carter, Lauren doesn't love you anymore. Can't you just let her go? He was right. A promise never kept from the start would never become reality. I waited at home until midnight when Lauren Mitchell finally called, her voice flustered. Honey, I won't be back for 2 days. Work is overwhelming. My eyelashes trembled. Perhaps she'd lied so often she couldn't even bother with a plausible excuse. My silence unnerved her. When I return, I'll take you to the park, I promise. After a long pause, I chuckled softly. Sure, it's cold out. Take care of yourself. Relieved, her tone brightened. Good night, honey. She hung up before I could respond. The dial tone hammered into my chest, a dull ache spreading. Under the glaring lights, my sorrow lay bare. Hours later, her text arrived. Honey, are you asleep? It's snowing outside, the first snow in New York in years. I walked to the window. Indeed, sparse flakes danced in the air. My breath caught. The first winter we were together, New York had welcomed a similar snowfall. Back then, Lauren Mitchell had packed hand warmers and hot milk, dragging me to the sports field, giddy despite the cold. Ethan Carter, if lovers walk in the snow together, it's like growing old side by side. Look, do I seem like your future wife? The snow in her hair that day blurred with the flakes outside now, stinging my eyes. Then, Nathan Brooks sent a photo, a lavish room, their reflections entwined on the glass. Ethan Carter, New York's snow is beautiful. In the image, Lauren Mitchell's eyes sparkled with laughter, my chest filled with ice, piercing to the bone. Gazing at the snow, I whispered to the empty living room. You promised we'd grow old together. Why did you leave me first? The next day, lawyer Andrew Collins summoned me. I took a taxi through the snow to the Civil Affairs office. Inside, voices buzzed. Legally, no one leaves a marriage empty-handed. Until the divorce is finalized, you're still legally bound. Unfortunately, domestic violence claims here don't meet the threshold for injury. Mediation is advised. The faces around the lawyers' desks were exhausted, hopeless, devoid of smiles. My heart shuddered. Was I any different now? Ethan Carter, over here. Andrew Collins stood, waving me over. I stepped forward, and Andrew Collins immediately handed me the documents. I've organized all the evidence you provided. Sign this power of attorney, and then we just wait for the court's decision. I picked up the pen, staring at the words petition for divorce on the paperwork, my heart twisting into knots. Against my will, memories of my wedding day with Lauren Mitchell surfaced. How we stood before the priest, hands clasped, eyes tender, vowing to stay together through poverty, sickness, and even death. But today, it's just me, alone, facing divorce papers. I vow to marry this person. No hardship, sickness, or even death shall part us. My eyes burned. I clenched the pen and signed my name under plaintiff, Ethan Carter, officially filing for divorce from Lauren Mitchell. 3 days until the hearing. Lauren Mitchell still hadn't returned. I skimmed the relentless messages from Nathan Brooks before silencing my phone. The lawyers had everything prepared. No more evidence was needed. And the sweet nothings between my wife and another man? Finally, I wouldn't have to see them anymore. A bitter laugh escaped me until Lily Carter's voice cut through. Dad, will you pick me up from school again? Before I could answer, she added matter-of-factly, Uncle Brooks hasn't been feeling well. Once he's better, I won't need you anymore. I froze. Staring at my daughter, who looked just like her mother, I felt a chill seep into my bones. After a long silence, I shook my head. Lily Carter. Dad's busy too. Her eyes reddened in disbelief. You're not a real father, she shouted, stomping away. Her words dragged up Lauren Mitchell's question from months ago. Would you like Uncle Brooks to be your dad? Lily Carter's eager reply had been deafening. Of course. My mouth went sour. Right. Soon I won't be her father at all. 3 more days and they'll all get what they want. The night before the hearing, Lauren Mitchell finally came home. She clung to me, her embrace cold from the outside air. Honey, I'm sorry I kept you waiting. I stiffened before replying flatly. It's fine. In less than 10 hours, our story ends anyway. This was the last time Lauren Mitchell hugged me, and the last day she would call me honey. I closed my eyes, the pain so deep it numbed me. That night, as we lay in bed, Lauren Mitchell suddenly spoke up. Honey, let's go to Miami this New Year's. The words our family hooked into my heart and yanked, sharp and merciless. I took a slow breath, forcing down the sting in my nose before replying, sure, you can arrange it. But this time, Lauren, whether you keep your promise or not, I won't wait anymore. In the darkness, she let out a soft laugh. Honey, you're so good to me. I love you so much. That single word, love, froze me in place. It had been so long since we'd said it that hearing it now felt foreign, like a relic from another life. By the time I regained my composure, she was already asleep. I brushed my fingers lightly over her cheek, my eyes glistening. It's just, our love doesn't exist anymore. The next morning, Lauren Mitchell woke and reached out instinctively, only to grasp empty, cold sheets. She blinked, disoriented, and called, Honey? Silence. Sitting up, she rubbed her heavy forehead and checked her phone. A missed call from her secretary. She frowned, about to call back, when the screen lit up with two words. Honey? She answered reflexively. Honey, where are you? My voice on the other end was calm, detached, unlike anything she'd ever heard before. I'm waiting for you at the City People's Court. Her brows furrowed, but the line went dead before she could react. A wave of dread crashed over her, yet she still scrambled to dress and race to the courthouse. 9:50 a.m. Lauren Mitchell stepped out of the car and spotted me standing at the courthouse gates. She rushed over, panic edging her voice. Honey, what are you doing here? What's wrong? I lifted my gaze to hers, fleeting, unreadable, before settling on Andrew Collins. Then with glacial calm, I spoke. Lawyer Collins, the plaintiff Ethan Carter, and defendant Lauren Mitchell are both present. The divorce hearing may now begin. Lauren Mitchell froze, disbelief flashing across her face. What are you talking about? Divorce? I met her gaze with an icy detachment she'd never seen before. Instead of questioning me, CEO Mitchell, perhaps you should think about how to defend yourself. Without another word, I turned and entered the courtroom with Andrew Collins. 10 minutes later, in the solemn chamber, plaintiff Ethan Carter sues defendant Lauren Mitchell for repeated adultery with her male assistant during their marriage, including carrying his child. The judge's voice was steady. Defendant, is this true? Lauren Mitchell, still reeling, whipped her head toward me, eyes wide with shock. How did he know about the baby? Defendant, answer the question. Lawyer Andrew Collins presented irrefutable evidence, photos, messages, medical records. Even if she denied it, the damning proof left her speechless. The gavel slammed. Evidence confirmed. This court hereby annuls the marriage between plaintiff Ethan Carter and defendant Lauren Mitchell. Per the plaintiff's request, custody is forfeited, defendant must compensate marital damages and transfer 30% of Mitchell Corporation's shares within 30 working days. Outside the courtroom, Lauren Mitchell waited, red-eyed. She seized my arm, trembling. You planned this from the start, didn't you? I smirked, cold. So what if I did? This is what you owe me. Shaking her off, I walked away without a backward glance. In the car, Andrew Collins smiled. Congrats, Ethan Carter. You've reclaimed your life. I nodded, exhaling. No more pretending. Just freedom. Meanwhile, Lauren Mitchell staggered home, clutching the divorce decree. Her phone buzzed. Nathan Brooks. Lauren, I'm unwell. Can you come? She wiped her tears, replying mechanically. Busy today. I'll send a doctor. His messages piled up, but her mind was a tangled mess. She silenced his notifications and opened our old chat. The last message from me, days ago. Honey, I'm working late. You and Lily Carter eat without me. Back then, she'd been too lost in Nathan Brooks' arms to notice the quiet change in me. Before, if I came home late, you'd fuss endlessly. Now? You didn't even ask. The truth is, these kinds of exchanges had started long ago. She just never paid attention. In the end, it was because she was too overconfident, but she couldn't accept it. Lauren Mitchell's chest ached as she gripped her phone and sent me a message. Honey, do you really have to be this cruel? Why won't you even give me a chance to explain? But the message only showed a glaring red exclamation mark, undelivered. I had already bought a new place outside the city and had no intention of staying in New York much longer. Once the divorce paperwork was finalized, I'd moved to San Francisco. My mood was light. I slept soundly and peacefully in the new house. When Jason Moore heard about the divorce, he immediately made a fuss and insisted on taking me out for drinks. The next day, I headed to meet him. As soon as I reached the underground parking lot, I spotted a familiar figure standing beside my car. Honey, do you really not want me and Lily anymore? I looked at Lauren Mitchell, her hair disheveled, clothes wrinkled, her voice trembling. Coldly, I replied, We're already divorced. Why are you here? She stepped closer. The dark circles under her eyes were stark evidence of sleepless nights. What happened with Nathan Brooks was just a mistake. That night I was drunk. I wasn't in my right mind. I coldly stepped back, unmoved. Lauren Mitchell stood frozen for a moment, her throat dry, her face haggard. If you'd just come back to me, I'd cut ties with him immediately. I knew all too well how deceptive a woman's words could be. My expression remained blank. I don't want things to get ugly. You're a public figure now. I'm sure you don't want to affect your company's stock price. The contrast between my past gentleness and my current iciness cut her like a knife. But I had no desire to entangle myself with this woman any longer. Lauren Mitchell, between you and me, there's nothing left to say, not even a sliver of hope to turn back. Get lost. After those cold words, I opened the car door and got in. What about Lily? Ethan Carter pressed. You don't even want Lily anymore? Ever since the day Lily was born, I'd cherished her like a treasure. Lauren Mitchell didn't believe I could let go so easily. I tilted my head and looked at her calmly. If you like Nathan Brooks that much, then just bring him home to be your child's stepfather. After saying that, I started the car and drove away without the slightest hesitation. Jason Moore waited for me at the little barbecue place we had been to before. When I told him about the court hearing, he slammed the table and shouted, "Serves her right!" I laughed too and finished a drink in one gulp. I had never felt so relieved. From now on, I was free. Jason Moore glared at me and said, Ethan Carter, I'm warning you. Don't go soft just because she begs a few times. I gave a bitter laugh. As if, after all the fake affection with Lauren Mitchell, I've seen right through her. Feeling lighter, I went home and found that Nathan Brooks had sent me a photo. In the picture, Lauren Mitchell was tipsy, collapsed in his arms. Both of them were completely naked. Ethan Carter. Every night she throws herself into my arms like this. I didn't delete the photo Nathan Brooks sent. I saw him as nothing more than a virtual pet. But I was about to leave New York, and I didn't want anything to do with those two anymore. For once I replied to his message, a shameless man like you deserves to be with a bitch like her. Also, keep your dog on a tighter leash. After sending the message, I immediately blocked Nathan Brooks and wrapped myself in a blanket for a good night's sleep. The next few days were truly peaceful until the third day when I received a call from an unknown number. But the voice on the other end was very familiar. Ethan Carter, the agreement for transferring 30% of Mitchell Group's shares is ready. Let's meet. This time, I agreed easily. All right. Lauren Mitchell arranged to meet at a quiet riverside restaurant. Today, she looked better than last time. At least she was dressed neatly, almost like a normal person. I got straight to the point as I sat down. Hand it over. Sign it. Lauren Mitchell stared at me without blinking. Hearing that, her eyes suddenly darkened, her voice hoarse. Ethan Carter, is there really nothing left to say between us? I looked at her. Lauren Mitchell, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I hope you have some self-respect and don't make me despise you even more. Lauren Mitchell's throat tightened. Yes, the man in front of her was no longer the honey he used to be. No more tenderness, no more obedience, no more rushing to hold her every time they met. Lauren Mitchell said softly, Then at least, can you have this meal with me? My voice was cold and clear. Looking at you ruins my appetite. Every time I saw Lauren Mitchell, those pictures that Nathan Brooks had sent would flash through my mind, each one worthy of trending on the hot search. But since she insisted on inviting me, I forced myself to sit through it. The dishes in front of me were all ones I disliked. Every bite tasted bland and bitter. After the meal, Lauren Mitchell kept her word. She handed over the share transfer agreement. I carefully read through every clause. There was nothing wrong, so I signed it. Then I stood up with my copy, ready to leave. But she called out to stop me. "Ethan Carter, even if you can't forgive me now, can't we at least still be friends?" Her eyes were sincere, her voice pleading. If it had been the old me, maybe I would have softened. But now, forgiveness or not, I had no interest in being friends with someone whose morals were already rotten. Lauren Mitchell watched my resolute back as I walked away. It was as if all the strength had drained from her body, and she collapsed onto the chair. The next day after receiving the shares, I booked a flight straight to San Francisco. My parents and relatives all lived there. When I decided to leave New York, I had already received a job offer in San Francisco. I had studied fashion design in university, so this new job was at a fashion studio. My flight landed in the afternoon. I took a taxi straight to my parents' house. When I married Lauren Mitchell back then, my family strongly opposed it, mainly because of the long distance and because she had nothing to her name. But I went against their wishes anyway, even broke their hearts for her. All these years I've carried guilt because of that. As I stood at the door and rang the bell, I couldn't help feeling anxious. The moment the door opened and I saw my mother, my eyes turned red. "Ethan Carter." My mother froze for a second, then immediately broke into a bright smile and called inside. "Dear, come here quick. Look who's home." Between New York and San Francisco was over 1,000 kilometers, and I hadn't been home in 3 years. Seeing the joy on my parents' faces, I couldn't hold back my tears. "Heavens, what are you crying for? You're a grown man still acting like a crybaby." Her words scolded me, but her voice was filled with unmistakable joy. She cooked a whole table full of delicious dishes. It wasn't until we were eating that she finally asked, "You came back alone?" Out of instinct, I glanced at both of them, the people who had never liked Lauren Mitchell from the beginning, and said softly, "I'm divorced." "What?" Both my parents were stunned. My mother's expression turned serious as she frowned. "What happened? Why didn't you say anything before?" I took a quiet breath and lowered my head. "If we weren't compatible, we divorced, that's all. We were married for 8 years. Our daughter's already 7. Now we just don't match anymore." My father glared at me, his eyes burning with barely restrained anger. "Tell me the truth. Did she do something unforgivable to you?" I didn't want to say more. I just answered quietly, "Let's leave it at that. I'm staying in San Francisco for good now. I don't want anything to do with her anymore." Hearing that, the two of them exchanged glances and in the end said nothing more. I returned to my room and saw everything arranged just as I remembered. Even the childhood trinkets I once cherished were still there. My nose stung with emotion. Ever since I was little, my parents had treated me like a treasure. And yet, because of someone unworthy, I had caused them so much pain. But from now on, no more. I won't fall again. When Lauren Mitchell found out I had left New York, Nathan Brooks was sitting right beside her. The phone's volume wasn't low. He had heard everything clearly. Seeing Lauren Mitchell's gloomy expression, he asked gently, "Lauren, is it true? Ethan Carter's really gone. Then what about us?" Nathan Brooks observed her closely, barely able to contain the excitement bubbling inside him. Lauren Mitchell, utterly exhausted, rubbed her temples and replied indifferently, "Kanayan, you should rest." "I'm tired." He wrapped an arm around her waist. "Lauren, you promised me. You said once you divorced Ethan Carter, you'd marry me. Let me be Lily Carter's father." "Enough!" Lauren Mitchell could no longer bear hearing the word divorce. It felt like a blade twisting in her heart. She slowly removed his hand and looked at him coldly. "Don't mention his name again. You're not worthy." Nathan Brooks' eyes turned red in disbelief. "What did you just say, Lauren Mitchell? You're pregnant with my child." Her eyes turned icy. Her voice dropped, sharp and distant. "The only value you have to me is that baby. So just wait for it to be born. Don't even dream of anything more. Nathan Brooks stared at the woman in front of him, seeing only a stranger. All the dreams he'd built around her crumbled under her cruel words. Tears streamed down his face. He roared, "Lauren Mitchell, how could you treat me like this?" But the only response he got was her cold, retreating back. Perhaps he should have realized long ago. A woman who could turn that cold to the man she had lived with for years could never love him sincerely. I planned to rest for a few days before starting my new job. I stayed home with my parents, but they were worried I might get sick from being too withdrawn. That afternoon, my mom pulled me outside. "Come on, let's go for a walk." There was a crystal clear lake in the neighborhood where colorful koi swam year-round. Like the old days, my mom and I strolled along the lakeside, chatting. As we talked, a large black Alaskan Malamute suddenly blocked our path. It should have been tied to the fence. It was still wearing a muzzle, but somehow it had broken free. Now it was sitting next to its leash, tail wagging furiously, staring straight at me, as if waiting for something. A man and a dog stared at each other, wide-eyed. Oh God, this dog looked terrifying. My mom was always afraid of animals. She tried to pull me to take a detour, but the dog wouldn't let us pass. It kept following us around. Just as we were stuck in this awkward standoff, a slim figure hurried over. As soon as the girl saw what was happening, she grabbed the dog's head and swiftly clipped the leash back on. The dog's owner was a young woman, her movements quick and efficient, and surprisingly, the massive Alaskan didn't resist at all. "I'm so sorry," she apologized breathlessly. "I only stepped into the restroom for a moment. Thought it'd be fine to leave him tied here. But I didn't think he was smart enough to get loose." Once she secured the dog, she bowed deeply in apology. I smiled and shook my head. "It's all right. He's actually quite cute." The girl smiled back. "If you like him, you can pet him. He doesn't bite or run off." My mom gave a small cough and suddenly turned to me. "Oh, I just remembered. I have a facial appointment with a friend. You head back by yourself." Before I could react, she gave me a meaningful glance and briskly walked away. The girl's smile grew wider. "If you like dogs, I take Bear for walks often. You're welcome to join us next time." "Thank you." I reached out to pat the dog's head. "Oh, right, I'm Ava Thompson. Let's be friends. I'll send you pictures of Bear." She was cheerful and friendly, and I found myself relaxing. We exchanged names and contact information. On the way back, I realized her house was right across from mine. I was just about to say goodbye when a cold voice suddenly rang out behind me. "Ethan Carter, who is she?" I turned and found myself staring into the icy eyes of Lauren Mitchell. She had canceled a meeting on short notice to come here, and the moment she arrived, she saw me smiling. A smile she hadn't seen on me in a long, long time, while talking to another woman. Her chest tightened. "What are you doing here?" My tone was flat, expression unreadable. Seeing Lauren Mitchell now only filled me with disgust. She stepped in front of me, eyes locked on mine. "I still hope you'll give me another chance." I scoffed. "What's the matter? Can't accept it? First time someone's dared to leave the high and mighty CEO?" Seeing the chill in my eyes, Lauren Mitchell inhaled deeply and said softly, "Let's go home and talk, please. Whatever you want to know, I'll explain everything. There's still someone else here." I turned to Ava Thompson and said, "Sorry about this. Can you take Bear home for now? I'll come by another time to see him." Ava Thompson glanced at Lauren Mitchell, then nodded politely. "Sure. See you later." After she walked away, I turned back to Lauren Mitchell and said, "I've already told you, there's nothing left between us. Don't ever come see me again." My expression was serious, unwavering. Lauren Mitchell felt a sharp ache in her chest. "Is it because of those rumors? If that's the reason, I'll clear them up. I won't let you." Looking at the woman in front of me, I couldn't help but find it laughable, ridiculously so. "I've already left. There's no one to stop you and Nathan Brooks from being together anymore. I don't want to be the third wheel wedging into someone else's love story. There's nothing more to say." By this point, I had no strength left to get entangled with her. My voice turned cold. "Lauren Mitchell, if you bother me again, I swear I'll make sure the headline, 'Mitchell Corp's CEO sued for adultery and divorce,' hits the trending list." With that, I turned and walked away, not looking back once. My icy tone and decisive actions were like a bucket of freezing water splashed straight onto her. She stood frozen, watching me leave, too stunned to even give chase. Her face was full of emptiness. We had been married for years. She once loved me, but never admitted it. Back then, my family background far surpassed hers. Even with some success of her own, people still said she married into wealth, that she rode my coattails to get ahead. It seemed having a honey like me meant none of her efforts were ever recognized. Then came Nathan Brooks, and suddenly she felt like she had the upper hand. She couldn't even tell anymore if she truly loved him, or just wanted to use him to reclaim the sense of power that came with being called Mrs. Mitchell. She wanted people to think that I, Ethan Carter, was the one clinging to her. She thought I would never be able to walk away. Until now, until she saw my back disappear without hesitation. I had started working again. Though I had been out of the workforce for years, I hadn't exactly been idle. The factory owner was a woman in her 40s who had built her brand from scratch. Now she was well known in the fashion industry. Some of her gowns were worn by celebrities. We bonded quickly. Both divorced, both had daughters, and we found common ground easily. After work, she invited me to dinner at a nearby restaurant. To my surprise, the moment I walked into the private room, I saw a familiar face, Ava Thompson. The last time I saw her was at the lakeside near our neighborhood. She'd invited me on another dog walk afterward, but I had to turn her down because of my awkward encounter with Lauren Mitchell. I didn't expect to run into her here. At first, her face showed no emotion. She looked like she wasn't in a great mood. But when she saw me walk in, she sat up straight in surprise. "Ethan Carter?" The factory owner glanced at her, then at me. "You two know each other?" she asked, a bit hesitant. Before I could respond, I heard Ava Thompson call out, "Mom." I froze. Eyes wide, I turned to look at the factory owner. "This is the rebellious daughter you told me about?" Ava Thompson chuckled, glancing at her mother. "Mom, is that how you talk about me to other people?" The factory owner chuckled and pulled me down to sit beside her, shooting her daughter a sideways glance. "Well, weren't you the rebellious one? Just graduated and already defied your mother to start your own business." Ava Thompson could only offer an awkward smile. Seeing the confusion still lingering on my face, she turned to me and explained, "I majored in IT, started developing games in my freshman year. By senior year, one of them became successful, so I opened my own studio. I made a bit of money and didn't want to rely on my family anymore." As we chatted, I realized how close the two of them were. Less like mother and daughter, more like best friends. Ava Thompson grinned at me playfully. "When Mom said she wanted to have dinner tonight, I actually thought she was going to introduce me to another guy." I laughed, curious. "Does she often try to set you up?" The factory owner quickly cleared her throat and waved her hand. "Come on now. It's not like I'm forcing her. I just want her to get out more." I chuckled, but an image flashed in my mind. Lily Carter, the little girl I was once so distant from. My smile faded slightly. By now, she and Nathan Brooks were probably living happily together. Maybe in time, she'd even forget me completely. After dinner, Mrs. Catherine, Ava's mom, wanted to head home. Knowing we lived in the same neighborhood, she had Ava Thompson walk me back. On the way, we chatted about Nun Bear, the Alaska. Then out of nowhere, Ava Thompson asked, "That woman from the other day, is she your wife?" I lowered my eyes and replied quietly, "Ex-wife." Her fingers tightened slightly on the steering wheel. At a red light, she turned to look at me. I recognized her. Lauren Mitchell. I was stunned. "You know her?" Ava Thompson was silent for 2 seconds, then said, "She's been on the hot search." I immediately remembered the scandals involving her and Nathan Brooks. I took a deep breath and didn't say anything more. Maybe she sensed my mood drop, so she didn't ask any further. Since I left San Francisco, Lauren Mitchell had been absent-minded in meetings. She often lost focus, forcing herself to stay alert just to make it through. That evening, she was going to work late at the office but received a call from the nanny. "Miss Lily is crying, asking for her dad." Lauren Mitchell had no choice but to cancel dinner. When she got home, Lily Carter was upset, even smashing a flower vase in the living room, one that I had once bought. Lauren Mitchell's face turned cold as she asked sternly, What kind of tantrum are you throwing? Tears welled in Lily Carter's eyes. In a small voice, she said, Daddy hasn't come home in a long time. I kept calling him, but he never answered. Lauren Mitchell froze for a moment. Then her voice softened unconsciously. You want to see your dad? Lily Carter nodded. She wiped away her daughter's tears and whispered, Maybe your dad is angry at us. No, he's not, Lily Carter said confidently. Daddy loves me the most. He would never be mad at me. Lauren Mitchell thought for a moment, then said, How about we go find Daddy together tomorrow? We'll ask him to forgive Mommy, okay? Lily Carter beamed with certainty. After all, Daddy had never once gotten mad at her. The next day, the mother and daughter dressed up and headed to San Francisco to find me. But the look in my eyes when I saw them was distant, colder than ever. I no longer asked how they were doing, no longer offered kind greetings. All I said was, What are you two doing here? I'm in the middle of work. As soon as I stepped out and saw them standing there, I felt the weight of the past wash over me again. Cheap tears and manipulative pleas. Daddy, you haven't come home in so long. Mommy and I came to pick you up. Lily Carter walked forward and tried to grab my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't respond either. And where's Uncle Nathan? I asked. Lily Carter froze, unable to say a word. I let out a soft laugh and pulled my hand gently away from her small fingers. I have work to do. I don't have time to play family with you two. Lily Carter just stood there stunned. I turned and walked back into the company. As I passed by the mother and daughter, I didn't pause for even a second. That afternoon, when work was done, I noticed Lauren Mitchell's car was still parked outside. As soon as she saw me coming out, she quickly got out and walked toward me. Ethan Carter, can we talk for a moment? At that time, Ava's mother was still walking beside me. Hearing that, I turned to her and said politely, Sorry, I've got something to take care of. Mrs. Catherine was very understanding. No worries, let's catch up another time. Lauren Mitchell had already booked a restaurant close to my office. When I got into the car, I didn't see Lily Carter anywhere. As if she could read my mind, Lauren Mitchell explained, I already took her back to the hotel. I nodded indifferently, not asking anything further. We sat down at the restaurant. She handed me the menu. I pushed it back without even glancing. If you've got something to say it quickly. I still have work to finish at home. Lauren Mitchell's hand froze mid-motion. She forced a bitter smile. Do you not even have time to have dinner with me? I frowned slightly. Then just order whatever you like. She picked up the menu, but as her eyes scanned the long list of dishes, she suddenly froze. Because she realized she had no idea what I liked to eat. All those years of marriage, whether at home or dining out, meals were always planned by me. I always chose dishes she and Lily Carter liked. She had grown so used to it, she never once noticed how much of my love was buried in those small, silent sacrifices. Struggling to keep her composure, she eventually picked a few dishes and handed the menu to the waiter. When the food arrived, I suddenly let out a cold laugh. Lauren Mitchell flinched. What is it? I looked at the plate calmly, my voice laced with sarcasm. I'm allergic to seafood. We were married for half a year, and I memorized every little thing you liked. But you didn't even know what I couldn't eat. All these years, you have no idea what I've been silently enduring. Lauren Mitchell stiffened. I lowered my gaze and said quietly, But then again, you never really cared about those things, did you? Let's keep this short. I don't want you ruining my evening. My expression made it clear. I just wanted to cut ties, clean and final, and that hurt her more than any harsh word. She fell silent for a long moment, then whispered, I'm sorry, Ethan Carter. I looked at the woman in front of me, her face etched with exhaustion, but my heart no longer wavered. I had compromised too many times, and all it brought me was deeper wounds. If you're truly sorry, I said, then don't disturb my new life anymore. Let's just consider everything between us. Done. Lauren Mitchell's throat tightened. Her eyes were red, voice hoarse. If it's not about that one thing, can I agree to everything else instead? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, but now, aside from that, there was nothing else I wanted. She said nothing, using silence to prolong the moment again, but I no longer had the patience to drag things out. I immediately stood up. If there was anything to say, I'm sure it's already been said. You should go and stay by Nathan Brooks's side and take care of your pregnancy. There's no need for us to see each other again. But Lauren Mitchell was still unwilling to let go. She reached out and grabbed my wrist. Ethan Carter, I already made things clear with Nathan Brooks. I clenched my fist, my gaze cold as I looked at her and said in a low voice, Lauren Mitchell, you're truly heartless. You can be that ruthless to your own child and the one you claim to love. But me, Ethan Carter, I've never been the kind to look back. When I love with all I have. But once I turn away, I never look back. My words were like a blade stabbing straight into Lauren Mitchell's heart. Her chest felt like it had been pierced by 1,000 arrows, torn and shattered. Ethan Carter, she hadn't finished speaking when another hand brushed her arm away. A cold female voice sounded beside me. He doesn't want to talk to you. Didn't you hear him? I turned to look at the newcomer, Ava Thompson, and was momentarily stunned. Lauren Mitchell, eyeing this unfamiliar woman who had suddenly appeared, darkened her gaze and snapped, Who the hell are you? Ava Thompson's face was icy as she pulled me behind her and said coldly, None of your business. The two women stood off against each other in the restaurant. Ava Thompson showed no sign of weakness. Facing Lauren Mitchell, an experienced businesswoman, she stood her ground firmly. Eyes from around the room began to focus on us. I took a deep breath and gently tugged on Ava Thompson's sleeve, whispering, Let's go. She nodded immediately. Okay. The two of us quickly left the restaurant without once looking back at Lauren Mitchell. The sky outside had already darkened. The night breeze blew through, and with it, the pressure in my chest dissipated. I turned to the woman beside me and said sincerely, Thank you. Ava Thompson was no longer as cold as she had been with Lauren Mitchell. She just smiled softly and shook her head. Ethan Carter, if she comes looking for you again, just let me know. I mean it. There's nothing really between us anyway. You care about me that much? Ava Thompson blushed, avoiding my gaze, and stammered, I just don't like seeing you hurt or troubled. That's all. I chuckled, sighed softly, and said seriously, Really, thank you so much. She quickly replied, No need to thank me. You haven't even had dinner yet, right? Want to eat with me? Sure. After that light meal, Ava Thompson drove me home herself. When the car stopped, she still seemed concerned. Ethan Carter, I know that woman hurt you deeply. Let me protect you. I was taken aback. Seeing the sincerity in her eyes, I forced a casual smile. All right then. From that moment on, I no longer cared how Nathan Brooks and Lauren Mitchell were doing. I didn't want to be involved with them anymore. I just hoped they wouldn't come back to disturb me. If this dragged on any longer, it would only drain the last of my patience. I thought Lauren Mitchell had returned to New York, but one Saturday afternoon I suddenly received a call from the hospital. Hello, are you Ms. Lauren Mitchell's next of kin? She was just in a car accident and is being treated at the emergency room. You're listed as her emergency contact. Can you come to the Central Hospital of San Francisco? I took a deep breath, gripped my phone tightly, and said coldly, I'm not. Call someone else. I'm sure there's someone named Brooks in her contacts. When I entered the room, she gave a faint, bitter smile and said hoarsely, Ethan Carter, you came after all. That means you still care, right? I looked at her calmly and replied in a steady voice, I came because I was soft-hearted. Even if it were Nathan Brooks in an accident and the doctors called me, I would still have come. Lauren Mitchell's eyes dimmed as she spoke softly. I told you, I would handle everything myself, and I did. Why can't you forgive me? Standing by the hospital bed, I laughed. I don't think the word forgive applies to us anymore. I no longer hold any grudges against you. Upon hearing that, Lauren Mitchell thought there was still hope. Her eyes filled with anticipation. But in the next second, I continued with an emotionless voice, Because I don't love you anymore. I just want to be free. Lauren Mitchell froze, her face full of shock. I've already contacted your assistant. From now on, don't involve me in things like this again. My voice was ice cold. If you still feel any guilt toward me, then go back to New York and live peacefully with Nathan Brooks. You're carrying his child after all. With that, I turned and walked out of the hospital room. My departing figure was as resolute and cold as the day I left the Mitchell household. Lauren Mitchell collapsed weakly onto the bed, staring up at the stark white ceiling. Her mind drifted back to many years ago. Back then, she had never seen my back, because I was always the one trailing behind her, like a shadow that couldn't be shaken off, always appearing whenever she needed me. She had never considered whether she loved me or not. She just thought having someone like that around wasn't a bad thing. After we got married, it was me who kept that house warm and welcoming on the surface. Orphaned from a young age, Lauren Mitchell had built her success from nothing. She never truly understood what a home felt like. Not until I left did she realize that as long as I was there, she had one. But people always wait until they have lost something to realize how precious it was. Tricks like pity and emotional manipulation don't work on me anymore. If it had been the past, seeing Lauren Mitchell in such pain would have made me cry until I couldn't breathe. But now looking at her only fills me with disgust. You could say I learned my lesson the hard way. Once bitten, a lifetime wiser. I took the afternoon off. Initially, I planned to head straight home. But just as I stepped out of Lauren Mitchell's hospital room and was waiting by the elevator, I ran into someone completely unexpected. Ethan Carter? Ava Thompson was just as surprised to see me as I was to see her. "What are you doing here?" I asked, confused. She smiled. "A friend of mine is sick. I came to visit. And you?" I didn't mention Lauren Mitchell. "Same," I replied. Ava Thompson quickly said, "Wait for me a moment, Ethan Carter. Let's go back together, okay?" Before I could answer, she had already dashed off. I could only stand there and wait. Not even 2 minutes later, she returned. Seeing me still standing there, she flashed a bright smile, her dimples showing, a vibrant, youthful energy radiating from her. "Let me treat you to dinner," I offered. Ava Thompson shook her head. "No need, let me treat you this time." I insisted, but when she didn't push back, I let it be. We chose a sour fish hot pot restaurant on the rooftop of a shopping mall and ordered a 3-person combo set. While waiting for the food, I looked at Ava Thompson and said sincerely, "Thank you. Really, if it hadn't been for you that day, I wouldn't have known what to do." She rested her chin on her hand and smiled at me. "It was nothing, but can I ask what your plans are now, Ethan Carter?" I paused, glanced at her, and gave a faint smile. "No plans. I still hold shares in the Mitchell Group. If she dares push me again, I won't hesitate to remind her what proper manners are." Ava Thompson looked at me gently. "All right, if you need anything, just let me know. Thanks in advance." After dinner, she waited for me again, so we could head back together. When we arrived at my place, she asked, "Tonight, can we take Bear for a walk? I've been busy lately and haven't had time to take her out. She'll be so happy to see you." I thought about it. There wasn't anything urgent waiting for me at home anyway, so I nodded in agreement. I thought I had made everything crystal clear to Lauren Mitchell, both at the hospital and earlier. But just as I arrived home, I received a message from an unknown number. It was obviously her, using someone else's phone. "Ethan Carter, I still hope you'll give me a chance to make things right. Back then, you chased after me. Now let me be the one to chase after you, okay?" All I felt was exhaustion. I had no energy left to get entangled with her again. I sighed and replied, "If Miss Zhao keeps breaking her promise and continues to harass me, then, unless you're not afraid of Mitchell Group's stock price tanking, I'll release all the evidence of your affair with Nathan Brooks." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Eventually, a message came through. "Ethan Carter, must you really do this? Have you thought about our child? I can't raise this family on my own." I almost laughed from sheer anger. My fingers tapped the screen with cold precision. "Whatever family you're talking about has nothing to do with me. I gave 10 years of wholehearted love to someone heartless. Spent 8 years raising a child who treats me like a stranger. So Lauren Mitchell, I want neither you nor the child." After sending those 2 messages, I immediately blocked her and texted Ava Thompson, asking if she could recommend some good lawyers to help me file a lawsuit. Before the workday ended, Ava Thompson messaged me, "I've arranged a meeting with a lawyer at a restaurant near your company." I researched and reviewed legal documents while working and preparing my case. When I stepped out of the office and was about to call Ava Thompson, I saw Lauren Mitchell's car already parked outside. Before I could turn away, the car door swung open, and Lily Carter ran out on her short little legs and clung to my leg. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Daddy, do you really not want me anymore? I've missed you every day lately. I looked down at the child I had raised with my own hands, but there was no wave of emotion inside me. Nothing at all. That in itself was telling. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, then gently pried her hands off my leg. My voice was calm. Lily Carter, I'm no longer your dad. From now on, your mom will find someone else you'll like to be your new dad. Her red eyes looked up at me, stunned. Just then, Lauren Mitchell, still recovering from the accident, her forehead wrapped in bandages, approached slowly. Looking at me, she spoke heavily. Ethan Carter, we've been married 10 years. I don't believe you can truly walk away from this family. From our family. Even if I don't want to, I still have to, I said. Just then, a clear voice rang out from behind us. The three of us turned at the same time to see Ava Thompson walking toward us, unhurried. She stepped between me and Lauren Mitchell, raising an eyebrow, her gaze icy. Trying to guilt-trip someone into staying with you? Is that satisfying? Lauren Mitchell's face instantly turned cold. Her voice was devoid of emotion. This is between me and Ethan Carter. It's none of your business. Ava Thompson smirked. Whether you think it's my business or not, I've already stepped in. She didn't even bother to look at Lauren Mitchell again. Instead, she lowered her head to speak to Lily Carter, who was glaring angrily. Hey, little one, if your mom is this unreasonable, doesn't your dad have the right to choose someone else? Or would you rather stay with him? No mansion, no toys, just dad? At the last part, Lily Carter looked terrified. She took a few steps back, clearly unsure how to respond. Seeing that, I chuckled softly. I turned to Lauren Mitchell. She's made her choice. So please, don't bring your child to pester me again. I said nothing more. Taking Ava Thompson's hand, I turned and walked away. For years, I had been the one coaxing Lauren Mitchell, always patient with her tantrums. Now that the roles were reversed, I found it almost amusing. Only when she truly believes I'll never come back will she finally understand the fear of losing something real. On the way to the restaurant, neither of us said a word. It wasn't until we arrived that I realized I was still holding her hand. I let go immediately, flustered. Sorry. Ava Thompson smiled, revealing her cute dimple. It's okay, Ethan Carter. Don't worry. I have plenty of friends in journalism, both in New York and San Francisco. They'll definitely be able to help. I truly appreciate it. Thank you. So much. Ava Thompson smiled with her eyes as she looked at me. You know, between us, there's really no need to be so formal. The girl standing in front of me had such clear eyes. When she looked at me, I saw my reflection in them, like a crystal, spotless and pure. My heart, long since cold and still, stirred slightly, but I quickly hid it away. I wouldn't allow myself to fall into the emotional whirlpool again. She looked down for a moment, thoughtful, and then asked, Ethan Carter, I honestly don't think that woman ever deserved you. Why did you endure 10 whole years like that? If it were before, I wouldn't have shared any of this with her. But now looking back, the past feels like drifting clouds, no longer heavy with pain. So I told her. I told her about my history with Lauren Mitchell, from our first meeting to my shameless pursuit, our marriage, and eventually the child. I kept it short, I kept it light. But this time, there was no sorrow, no regret in my eyes. I even smiled as I spoke, my tone faint and distant. I don't hate her, I said. I just blame myself for being blind, for wasting my youth on someone like that. I let out a soft sigh and smiled wryly. I'm not young anymore, but to have once loved so deeply, I don't regret it. What matters is knowing when to stop, and I still have time ahead. Ava Thompson gazed at my face, radiant in the evening light, a storm quietly rising in her heart. She couldn't help herself. Then, Ethan Carter, have you ever thought about falling in love again? I answered honestly. Of course. I'm still young after all. She coughed gently and then, half jokingly, tried to probe. So, do you like younger girls? I've got a few friends I could introduce you to. I couldn't help but laugh. Don't be in such a rush. She blinked innocently, giggling. I don't think it's that fast. At that moment, I'm not sure if it was just my imagination, but her eyes seemed to ripple with a strange emotion, like a silent net slowly closing in around me. I looked away, pretending not to notice anything. Some time passed. Lauren Mitchell and I had no further contact. Maybe she really was afraid of the threat I made. During that period, the company needed someone to travel to Milford to negotiate the purchase of a new fabric batch. I volunteered. What I didn't expect was to run into Ava Thompson on the plane. She scratched her nose, slightly embarrassed. "You're going to Milford alone. My mom was worried, so she told me to come along to protect you." I chuckled. "Well, thanks for that." Ever since we discussed my divorce with Lauren Mitchell, I could feel the quiet affection she had for me. But as someone who had once fallen painfully hard, I didn't want to start another relationship. Not yet. So I kept pretending not to notice. Milford was a coastal city, full of tourist spots. After wrapping up work, Ava Thompson invited me for a walk. It had been a long time since I last allowed myself to relax. As we walked along the beach, I could feel her eyes on me, constantly. Suddenly she asked, "Ethan Carter, are you avoiding me lately?" The question caught me off guard. I froze in place, then looked at her. "Why would you ask that?" Ava Thompson pursed her lips, her gaze dimming. "You barely reply to my texts. And even when I invite you to take a walk, you always find an excuse." I smiled softly, paused for 2 seconds, then said, "Because I think we should keep our distance." She stopped in her tracks, staring at me, her eyes unreadable. "Ethan Carter, you know I like you, don't you?" I stiffened, caught off guard by her bluntness. My face flushed slightly. Back when I was with Lauren Mitchell, I was always open about our relationship. Hardly anyone tried to pursue me. After marriage, there was no reason to mention it at all. So maybe this was the first time in over 10 years someone had confessed to me, and it was a young woman I hadn't even known that long. I hesitated. "Don't rush. I've been married before. I've had a child. Aren't you afraid?" Ava Thompson stared at me, eyes bright like a burning vortex that left me uneasy. "I don't care about any of that. That's exactly why I don't want anything unclear between us." Her face fell. She asked softly, "So, you're rejecting me?" I nodded. "Yes." She looked down, silent for a few moments, then looked back up and asked cautiously, "Then, can I still join you when you walk the dog? Still have meals with you?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Of course. I've always seen you like a younger sister." Hearing that, her smile faded again. She mumbled, "Don't treat me like a sister. I never said I'd give up. Ethan Carter, I'm going to pursue you. I know you were hurt too deeply by that woman. I know you're afraid to trust again. That's okay. I'll wait. I'll wait until the shadow in your heart fades. I'll be by your side until this lawsuit ends." I sighed helplessly, said nothing more. When young people fall in love, no advice can change their minds. I was like that once too. I gave everything for Lauren Mitchell, even went to New York for her. But now I've been through enough. I know, no matter how fierce the fire of love burns, time always cools it. No one understands better than me. Love is the most fragile of all bonds. Family, friendship, they can last. But love, it changes too easily. After that conversation, Ava Thompson seemed to have torn through the thin veil between us. She began showing up constantly, sticking to me like a shadow. During the days I stayed in Milford, she was by my side everywhere I went. Today I visited a fashion company we'd scheduled to meet with to select fabrics for a new collection. Ava Thompson waited outside. When I knocked and entered the office, I unexpectedly saw a familiar face inside. I froze. The company president, unaware, excitedly introduced us. Lauren Mitchell rose from her seat with perfect calm, even smiling. "The Mitchell Corporation has invested in several fashion brands. We even have our own garment factories. Ethan Carter, if you want to return to work, I fully support it. Come back. One day all of this can be yours." I remained unmoved, giving a cold smile. "So now that I've made my stance clear, you're trying to tempt me with money? What's next? Threats?" Lauren Mitchell flinched. "That's not what this is. Ethan Carter, I just want to say, As long as you're willing to come back to me, you can do whatever you want. I looked at the woman standing in front of me, now willing to compromise, and I laughed. You remember how I used to say I wanted to work? Every time I mentioned it, you brushed me off. Why work for pennies, you'd say. So exhausting, not worth a dime compared to just staying home. I'll give you anything you want. But I never cared how much you gave. I stayed because I thought she cared. Now I realize she could back down whenever it suited her. It was so absurd I actually laughed out loud. Lauren Mitchell, what I needed, you can't give me anymore. Oh, right, I added. I've contacted a journalist I know. I'm sure you wouldn't want Mitchell Corporation's CEO to be exposed for an affair, would you? I turned to leave. To my surprise, Lauren Mitchell ran after me, grabbing my hand tightly. She looked serious. Ethan Carter, I know you don't want to hear anything now, but you know it's true. I lost my parents young. Through high school and college, I barely had anything. No one ever cared about me the way you did. I didn't know how to love. That's why I hurt you. Please, give me one more chance. Just one last chance. I cut her off, my voice dripping with irony. I loved you that much. Weren't you the so-called genius with the perfect memory? Top of the school for years. And yet, you couldn't even figure out how to love someone? Lauren Mitchell, love isn't a business deal. I once chose you and I don't regret it. So now I choose to walk away. And I won't look back. Just then, from the corner of my eye, I saw Ava Thompson stepping out of the car, frowning in our direction. I said nothing more. Shrugged Lauren Mitchell's hand off and walked toward Ava Thompson. Are you okay? She asked the moment I got close. Her voice was gentle, worried. It softened me a little. I shook my head and smiled faintly. Let's go. The sight of me walking away, shoulder to shoulder with another woman, it must have felt like a dagger to Lauren Mitchell's chest. But now she no longer had the right to chase after me. She had no courage left, no reason to. She didn't even dare to go home. Nathan Brooks was taken somewhere else to recover. That house, the one we once shared, was no longer warm. Now it was just a shell. Since I left, Lily Carter has been crying a lot, sometimes asking for me, sometimes for Nathan Brooks. Only now did Lauren Mitchell realize what I had once given her, how much I had sacrificed for our family, and that she was the one who failed to cherish it. Her arrogance, her pride, had destroyed our marriage. From then on, I carefully avoided any company under the Trio Group when choosing where to work. Luckily, everything went smoothly. As soon as I wrapped up my business in Milford, Ava Thompson and I quickly returned to San Francisco. A few days after our return, I received a notice from the court. My divorce application had been approved. The summons had also been sent to Lauren Mitchell. Sure enough, not long after, she appeared again, waiting outside my office after work. Her eyes were bloodshot, her face pale. Clearly, she hadn't slept well in days. Ethan Carter, have a meal with me, please. I looked at her indifferent. Given our relationship now, I see no reason to. She forced a smile. Just think of it as a farewell dinner, or even pity if you must. In the end, I agreed. I could tell she had something to say. This time, she picked a Western restaurant, even handed me the menu. I picked a few dishes at random. While waiting for the food, I asked, if you have something to say it. This is our last meal before court. I'm sorry. That was the last thing I expected to hear first. Her voice hoarse, her gaze avoiding mine. Ethan Carter, these past few days I've reflected on everything. What happened with Nathan Brooks? It was foolish. A moment of weakness. A drunken mistake. I'm sorry for hurting you. She took a deep breath, as if summoning courage, then looked straight at me. From now on, I won't bother you anymore. I had anticipated this, so I wasn't surprised. I curled my lips slightly, my tone calm. If you've finally come to terms with it, then that's good. She looked at me, a man so calm, so emotionless, and a wave of bitter sorrow swept over her. Ethan Carter, even after the divorce, can we still be friends? I looked at her, eyes cold. We'll see, she nodded. Even a sliver of hope is enough. Perhaps this was the most peaceful meal we'd had since I left New York. After dinner, we said our goodbyes and parted. Later, I unblocked Lauren Mitchell's number and finalized the court date. The official divorce papers would be signed next Tuesday. Lauren Mitchell was silent for a moment, then finally nodded, as if a heavy weight on my chest had just been lifted. The next day, Ava Thompson called me, her voice full of concern. "Ethan Carter, what's wrong? Did she come find you again?" I laughed and reassured her. "No, nothing like that. She promised she wouldn't bother me anymore. You don't have to worry." Only then did Ava Thompson breathe a sigh of relief, more relieved than even I was. Excitedly, she invited me out. "Let's go out somewhere fun. Feel the energy of youth again." Since getting married, I'd rarely gone to places like that. But seeing how enthusiastic she was, I nodded and agreed. Though in truth, Ava Thompson didn't take me to some noisy, wild bar, but instead to a quiet little bar called Caustic near the company. As soon as we walked in, a server behind the bar called out playfully, "Whoa, the lady boss brought her boyfriend today?" Ava Thompson shot him a glare. "Don't talk nonsense." I just smiled quietly and sat down with her in a corner. "You come here often?" I asked. She quickly explained, "It's my place." I opened it, but I don't come by that often. I was surprised. So young, yet already owning her own bar. "You're impressive," I said. "Starting your own business at your age?" She blushed instantly, then looked at me seriously and said softly, "I know in your eyes I'm still just a kid, but I'm already 23. I understood what she meant and gave a small smile, changing the subject. "You should date someone from school. It's the best time to enjoy love and youth." But Ava Thompson didn't beat around the bush. She asked directly, "Ethan Carter? Not even one chance?" I looked at her, helpless. "You're just being impulsive. But me, I'm not." Her expression turned serious, more serious than I'd ever seen before. "If you're only saying that because you're afraid of love, then please, trust me." In her eyes burned a fiery, determined light, the kind of light Lauren Mitchell never once looked at me with. That's why I could stay calm now. I took a sip of wine and lowered my gaze. "Ava Thompson, I just ended a failed marriage. I'm not ready for something new yet." To my surprise, her eyes lit up instead of dimming. "So, you're not rejecting me completely. You just need time, right?" I thought for a moment and answered, "You can think of it that way." Ava Thompson officially began pursuing me. Word even reached her mother. But her mother was incredibly open-minded. Despite knowing about my past, she never showed any prejudice. On the contrary, she said, "Just follow your heart," as if to tell me in another way that my past wouldn't affect her view of me. That weekend, Ava Thompson invited me to visit her company. I didn't refuse. When I arrived, I was surprised to see that her company was quite impressive. Located in a high-rise, sleek and modern. The staff was small, but everything was tidy and well-designed. Most of them were young, lively people. In front of everyone, Ava Thompson called me Ethan. It had been so long since I'd been around so many university students at once. For a moment, I felt young again. Ava Thompson happily gave me a tour of the place, and when she began sharing her plans for the company's future, one of the girls teased playfully, "Oh, wow, our boss is telling her life goals to future brother-in-law already? Hey, watch your mouth." Ava Thompson's face turned red, though it was obvious she was secretly thrilled. Still, worried I might be uncomfortable, she quickly pulled me into her office. There I stood in front of a display cabinet filled with models and figures. "Why do you have so many toys?" I asked, curious. Ava Thompson quickly explained, a little flustered, "They're not toys. They're characters from our first game project, just for display. If you like them, I'll give them all to you." I chuckled. "I just found it strange, that's all. It'd be wasted on me." She shook her head. "How could it be a waste? These were the first characters I ever created. They mean a lot to me. I wouldn't want to give them to just anyone. But giving them to you, that makes me happy." Ava Thompson's words were sincere, not just empty, sweet nothings. Even though I refused a few times, she still tried to hand me those little models. And those tiny figures were like pieces of her heart, slowly finding their way into the softest parts of mine. At some point, they had begun to take root. The weather in San Francisco cooled down slowly, but it eventually grew colder. Maybe because I'd lived in New York for so long, the cold didn't affect me the same way anymore. I wore thin clothes to work, and the result was a heavy flu, a fever of 39 degrees, and a hospital stay for IV treatment. When Ava Thompson heard the news, she was both worried and upset. She stayed up the whole night by my bedside, taking my temperature constantly. In the middle of the night, I groggily opened my eyes and saw her dozing off with her head resting on the bed. The dark circles under her eyes were obvious. I croaked her name. Ava Thompson? She immediately woke up, and upon seeing I was awake, she quickly asked, "How are you feeling? Are you still uncomfortable?" When I shook my head, she took my temperature, finally relieved to see it had gone down. "You scared me to death today," she whispered. "It's freezing, and you went to work in just a thin coat." I smiled softly, voice low. "Thank you. I feel much better now," she pouted. "Still, being sick is no fun, right? You don't know how worried I was today." A strange feeling welled up in my chest. Maybe it was because people tend to get emotional when they're sick, more vulnerable. She looked like she wanted to scold me more, but when she glanced up, she saw my eyes were red. She froze. Then gently, "What's wrong?" I, I didn't mean to scold you. I was just scared you'd get sick again." Her flustered tone and the panic in her face made me laugh, even as I sniffled. "I'm not upset," I said, voice thick. "It just, feels strange. I've always been the one taking care of others. No one's ever really stayed by my side when I was sick. Not like this." She immediately understood. She knew who I was thinking about. Then bravely, she reached out and held my hand resting by the bed, her gaze unwavering. "Ethan Carter, if you ever need me, I'll always be here." In that moment, I truly wanted to nod, to follow my heart, to begin again, to let love heal the wounds of the past. But in the end, rationality won. Faced with her blazing sincerity, I only gave a soft smile. "Thank you." And when I saw the light fade from her eyes, my heart ached a little. The company gave me 3 days off, but I left the hospital after just one and went home. I'd never been one to sit idle. Even though I wasn't at the office, I still handled some small tasks at home. That afternoon, Ava Thompson invited me out to walk her dog. As we strolled, she glanced at me and said carefully, "Once you're fully recovered, next week there's a school dance event, a networking thing. Would you like to come?" I was momentarily taken aback, then quickly shook my head. "Let's skip it. That's more for your age group." Ava Thompson burst into laughter. "Why do you keep saying you're old? You're really not old at all. Last time I brought you to my company, everyone thought you were my senior from school." Hearing that, I felt a little embarrassed, but seeing how enthusiastic she was, I couldn't bear to refuse. After thinking for a moment, I said, "How about this? If I'm free then, I'll go. But if work calls, then I won't be able to." Ava Thompson smiled brightly, her eyes turning into crescents as she mumbled softly, "You'll definitely be free." But I didn't catch what she said. The party was scheduled for Wednesday, a regular workday. I was sure I wouldn't be able to make it. But around noon that day, Ms. Catherine called me into her office and reluctantly said, "My daughter rarely asks for favors. There's nothing important going on this afternoon. Go keep her company." I walked out of the office still in a daze and immediately saw Ava Thompson standing by a car, waving with a beaming smile. But she didn't wait for me to catch up. Instead, she brought me straight to a nearby shopping mall to buy something to wear for the party. Then she dragged me into a high-end suit store. It had been a long time since I last bought clothes, especially a suit like this. I used to enjoy buying clothes even if I had nowhere to wear them. I'd still buy them just because. But Lauren Mitchell always said it was a waste of money. Eventually, I stopped bothering. "Ethan Carter, I think this one suits you perfectly." I looked up and met her clear, sincere eyes. She was holding a crisp white suit. I took it and went to try it on. When I stepped out of the fitting room, her eyes lit up. "You look so handsome," she exclaimed without hesitation. I awkwardly adjusted the lapels and looked at myself in the mirror. Standing tall in the suit, I suddenly realized it had been a very long time since I had worn something nice just for myself. We both wore our new outfits straight to the school's formal event. The gala was held in a grand hall inside a tall building. Music thumped, lights sparkled, dresses shimmered. "Hey, Ava brought someone today. Her flower has finally bloomed, huh? Which department is that guy from? Never seen him before." It was clear Ava Thompson was well liked. People came to greet her as soon as we walked in. Curious, friendly glances kept turning toward me. Ava Thompson gripped my hand tightly and gave the crowd a mock glare. "Don't tease him." I thought for a second she might deny any relationship between us, but the next moment she turned to me, smiling. "I'm courting him, so don't scare him away." The entire hall erupted in teasing laughter. The vibrant atmosphere swept me up. I felt myself blending into the youthful energy all around. Ava Thompson pulled me into a quiet corner and asked softly, "Ethan Carter, can I ask you for a dance?" Dancing used to be my strength, but I hesitated. It had been years since I last danced. She held out her hand to me, open and inviting. The light from the ballroom glimmered in her eyes as she smiled. "It's okay. I'll teach you." My heart trembled just a bit. Finally, I placed my hand in hers and together we stepped into the crowd. At first I was stiff, clumsy, stepping on her feet a few times. Ava Thompson laughed. "Maybe you should just step on my feet and let me lead." I gave her a side eye. "I can manage." "All right," she said, pretending to be disappointed. But I used to be a good dancer, and it didn't take long for me to catch the rhythm again. The music, the voices, they now only fueled my excitement. The passion I once lost seemed to return in that moment. After the dance, Ava Thompson pulled me into a classroom near the ballroom where a few friends were gathered. Some of the ones who had teased us earlier. There were both guys and girls. One of them enthusiastically waved. "Hello, brother-in-law?" "Get lost," I muttered as Ava Thompson pulled me toward the back. After the two of us found a place to sit, she explained, "They're about to play a game. If you don't want to join, just sit with me for a bit, okay?" I chuckled. Well, since I'm already here, I might as well play. Young people's games. Back then or now, there are only so many kinds. The host picked up a pen and announced, "Complicated games are boring. Let's just play truth or dare." Whoever the spinning pen pointed to would have to choose one. Though it was meant to be a group game, I could tell they were clearly trying to matchmake me and Ava Thompson. So it was no surprise when the first spin landed on her. Ignoring all the stares, she calmly chose truth. Everyone groaned in disappointment. "All right then, Ava. We already know all the boring stuff. Tell us, since when have you had feelings for Tuan?" Ava Thompson's face turned red. She glanced at me and whispered, "Can I say it?" I smiled. "If it's a truth game, then you've got to speak the truth." Her face grew redder, like a ripe tomato. She lowered her head and began softly. "It was later, when we ran into each other again by chance, that I noticed something different. I saw his resilience, his decisiveness. He had a kind of gentleness you can't help but fall into, but also a strength and determination that commands respect. That's when I realized I liked him, and I couldn't stop. She didn't dare look up at me the whole time she spoke. Only at the end did she suddenly raise her eyes. The sincerity and purity in her gaze made it impossible not to be moved. Instinctively, I looked away, lowering my head and softly said, "Thank you. But honestly, I'm not as brave as you think. Courage like that comes at a cost. 10 years of endurance, mistakes, and weakness. It's too steep a price. Nothing worth glorifying." Even though I tried to deflect, Ava Thompson didn't seem sad. After all, she'd already said she was willing to give me time. After the dance that night, we all had a few drinks and chatted for a bit before calling it a night. From then on, Ava Thompson felt the distance between us had shortened, and I too no longer avoided her invitations. As the weather turned colder and the new year approached, Ava Thompson invited me early on. "Ethan Carter, this New Year's Eve, come watch the fireworks by the river with me, okay?" I figured I wouldn't have anything to do that night. There was no one waiting at home anyway, so I agreed. That afternoon, she took me to a riverside restaurant for lunch and ordered all my favorite dishes. Perhaps, besides my parents, the person who understood my tastes and preferences best was the one sitting right in front of me. Actually, there were times when I wavered. Times I wondered whether I should be with her. But for some reason, I just couldn't cross that line. Ethan Carter, do you have a New Year's wish? Ava Thompson asked me. I thought for a moment, then smiled and said, I hope my career goes smoothly and that my parents stay healthy. She lowered her head in silence for a few seconds, then softly said, Then, do you know what my wish is? There was no need to ask. I could already see it in her eyes. The hope, the anticipation. I was stunned, just about to respond, when a voice suddenly cut in from the side. Ethan Carter. Both of us were startled. I turned my head and saw Lauren Mitchell, her eyes lighting up with surprise. We hadn't seen each other in almost 2 months since the divorce. She still kept in touch, but I often used work as an excuse to avoid replying. I was caught off guard. What are you doing here? She glanced at Ava Thompson, whose face had grown cold, then turned back to me and said calmly, Business trip. I nodded, blurting out, Where's Lily Carter? Is someone at home with her? I knew the answer. With someone like her, even during holidays or family times, work always came first. Ava Thompson frowned, her gaze icy as she looked at Lauren Mitchell. But Lauren Mitchell didn't seem to care. She just looked at me and said, If you need anything, just contact me. I took it as nothing more than a polite remark and nodded. After she left, I looked up to see Ava Thompson resting her chin in her hand, staring off sadly. I didn't know what to say. I checked the time and smiled awkwardly. It's almost New Year's. Let's go watch the fireworks. Happy New Year. I heard her soft voice in my ear. I turned my head instinctively, just as Ava Thompson was looking down at me, smiling shyly. And in that moment, as fireworks exploded brilliantly across the sky, she leaned down gently, lowering her head to my level, and whispered in my ear, My New Year's wish is actually really simple. In that moment, I felt my heart leap into my throat. I said nothing, just stared blankly at the sparkling fireworks in the sky. And then I saw it. Amidst the glittering lights, one firework bloomed into a single letter, my name. I gasped, eyes wide, and immediately turned to look at Ava Thompson. Her gaze was as soft as flowing water. Ethan Carter, she said, my wish is for you to always be this happy. The distance between us was so close. So close I could hear her breathing. So close it made my heart race. I knew Ava Thompson was leaning in, but I didn't back away. I let her gentle kiss land softly on my lips. I didn't know when she pulled away. Time in that moment felt like it stretched on forever. When I opened my eyes, she was already standing again, trying to appear calm as if nothing had happened. But the blush on her cheeks and the redness in her ears gave her away. She held my hand tightly. On the way home after the fireworks, neither of us spoke a word. Not until the car pulled into the parking garage. I reached to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. I turned to look at Ava Thompson, only to see she was already looking at me. Ethan Carter, what exactly are we now? Her question caught me off guard. My mind was a mess. I couldn't let myself give an answer I wasn't sure of. I lowered my head, silent for a while, then softly said, Can you give me a little more time to figure it out? Hearing that, it seemed like Ava Thompson was already very happy. I'll wait for you, Ethan Carter, whenever you're ready.